Hey, Stampers, Diane Dimich here from DDStamps.com, and I want to welcome you to my Thursday night live. So it is July 18th. Yeah, July 18th, 2024. And I think, I'm sure Jan is going to be on shortly, but when she comes on, I just want her to know. I think what I'm going to start doing is putting the date in the picture that I post on the recording. That might help people to know exactly when I did it. So looks like we've got some people here watching on YouTube. I'm hoping that somebody out on Facebook might pop up and let me know that you can hear and see me. It says you can. I'm assuming you can. If you put a comment in the into the comment box, I'll see it. I might not see it if I'm stamping, but I certainly will come back and check for comments. So, yay! It is on Facebook. Thanks, Mary Ellen. Sitting on your deck watching the storm go by, lots of thunder. Yeah, we just had the wind whip up here, and I thought for sure we were going to get a storm, but it is calm again. If you do hear the rumble of thunder, it's probably the rumble of motorcycles, because this weekend is our motorcycle rally here. Good, thank you, Mary Ellen. Is our motorcycle rally here in Red Lodge, and so it's kind of crazy. Hi, Linda. And I live right in the thick of it all. Ah, Kathy, thank you for sharing. All right, so for those of you who don't know me, my name is Diane Dimich, and I have been a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator for many, 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 many years. 20, I don't know. I'd have to figure it out, but I know it's been probably 28 years, a long time. And anyway, I do these Thursday Night Lives, which are really a lot of fun. So I've got, hey Jan, how are you? Hot in southern Georgia, Oregon. Yeah, you know, my daughter's in Newport, and it hasn't been terrible this week, but a couple days last week, she was looking into getting air conditioning, which is almost unheard of out there. But hey Jenny, it's good to have you here with me. Good. I'm so glad that people are seeing and hearing me. Okay, so I told you at the beginning of July we were going to do Christmas in July, and we are doing Christmas in July because tonight we're playing with a sophisticated sled. This was one of those stamp sets that came out. It's up on the online exclusives in the Stampin' Up! Website, and it was a must-have. I don't know, something about it, but wait till you see the cards I do tonight, because I go from pretty basic and simple to a little bit more complicated and more picturesque. Like maybe the last one I might actually, frame and hang on a wall somewhere at Christmas time. So I'm going to go ahead and flip my camera. I do have some things to show you before we get started stamping. I've got some cards, and I think that a couple weeks ago, I did a paper pumpkin, and I don't think I ever showed you the alternative cards I made with that. And then for those of you who are Paper Pumpkin subscribers, I know that their Paper Pumpkin is going out there now these days. I haven't gotten mine yet for this month, but I've seen pictures of it, and oh goodness, it is beautiful. I can't wait to get it. I probably will do a quick, hopefully I'll have it by next Thursday, and I'll do a quick little paper pumpkin thing, but I've already got some alternatives up here in my brain. So I'm going to go ahead and flip my camera down to my desk, and hopefully, yep, looks good. We will show you these cards that I did with the paper pumpkin. I'm going to scooch this in a little bit. I'm going to zoom in, but I'm going to zoom back out, I think, because I want you guys to see the glitter on this one. All right, so these are the paper pumpkin alternative cards that I did after I did the paper pumpkin night one night. I don't know, it must have been the beginning of July. Or maybe that June, probably June. Anyway, these turned out really cute. I love this kit. And I haven't looked. I think that there are refills for it, but I'm not sure. I haven't really checked. So, cute cards. I cut these frames actually in half because they went farther, and I got to use them on more cards. So, and I love the glitter sentiments. Anyway, cute, cute, cute. I've got some other stuff I'm going to share. I just had, sorry, my dog is going to bark now because somebody's walking by with a dog. I just had, somebody sent me pictures. I'm going to share them. sent me pictures of the cards that they made with my Mediterranean blooms tutorial class. So anyway, I'm going to share those. I just got permission from her to share them. So I didn't get them bound to my computer, but I will. I will for next week. So, okay. So everybody's got rain. Hey, Rhea, how are you? Hi, Sylvie. Oh, this is awesome. All right, cool. Okay, so we're going to use Sophisticated Sled tonight, like I said. And just so you know, this is really a cute set. I love it. But my favorite part is the dies. And it comes with a whole bunch of dies. I knew there were some missing. So this is the outline for the sled. And I'm going to do this tonight and show you, but it's got like a pair of skates. Anyway, it's cute, cute, cute. So it has dies for the images. So the wreath, the sled, the bow, the bird, the skates all have a die to cut them out. And then it has dies for skates and the sled. Cute. They're really fun. All right, so I better not put this away too far. Start with my first card. And like I said, I'm going to go from making a simple card to something a little bit more complicated. This is the first card. And I know it's super simple. However, if you're making tons of cards, sometimes you want something super simple. So what I've used is, this is a half a sheet of Pool Party. So, you know, take a full sheet. Oh, I better scoot out so you can actually see what I'm stamping here. Sorry. All right, I don't want to go too far. There. So it's a full sheet. I cut it in half. So it's 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4.25, and they fold it in half. And that's just your regular card base. And I'm going to use Pool Party ink and a little snowflake stamp, which is just 3 little snowflakes. And this I'm actually just going to stamp right around the edge. And you can see that I'm kind of turning it a little bit because I want it to look random. So some are off, some are on. You can always go back in and fill in later. Like, I want one here. I want something here. I think that's pretty good. All right, so there's the random stamping. Then I'm going to take a little piece of basic white. And this one is 3.5 by 2.5. And this time I'm going to use Memento ink. And you could use any black ink. And the reason I'm using Memento is because the other images that I'm going to do tonight are colored with the blends. And so Memento ink works with the blends. So instead of getting out several blacks, I just get out one black. Because this is going to work for... Actually, I'm coloring this with blends too. You probably can't really see it. But so I'm just inking up those skates. And then stamping them directly down on my cardstock. I'm going to have to get something to clean these with because I see I got black ink on my block there. And if I don't clean it off, it's going to end up on one of my cards. All right. So I don't know about you, but I have a tendency to just use chamois. So these chamois, they're old. I just washed them. But I just wash them every week. Not even hardly any soap, just a little bit of washing, no drying. I get them from the auto parts store. So, all right. Now my dog's going to go crazy because there's all kinds of people in the neighborhood. So hopefully she doesn't disturb too much. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in again on this skate. And I'm just going to use my light Pool Party blend. And all I did on this one was I just outlined the skates. So really, I just drew right around the skate. And then this one. And all this does is just cause a little shadow and make it stand out a little better. And then on the ties, I did color them around the edges with the blue. But it just gives it just a little bit. Put that up closer. So it just gives a little bit of shading. Nothing major, real simple. And then, so I'm going to add this on to a black layer. So if this was 2.5 by 3.5, this is probably 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. Just enough to give you a little bit of a border. And add that onto my card base. And then I'm going to take a sentiment from that same stamp set. This is, I think, the only stamp set I'm using tonight. And I like that one. I hope your days are filled with fun and laughter. Super simple card. Sometimes that's all we need to do, is not get carried away and just do a super simple card. Stamps, ink, and paper. All right, next card. Each card gets a little bit more stuff to it. All right, so this one too is a simple card. I'm going to put it up close because I want you to see it's embossed. And so again, I'm using a piece of thick basic white. Let me pan out. Sorry. So it's a thick piece of thick basic white. Cut it 5.5 and 8.5 and scored it 4 1/4. And I'm going to fold that in half. So the thick basic white is really, that's all it is. It's just a little bit thicker than our regular basic white. This piece, this layer I've added on here is actually, oh, hi, Christy. Glad you made it. Hi, Cindy. All right, so this one is 4.5. Yeah, 3 1/4 by 4.5. So it's going to give me a 1/2 inch border all the way around. And I just did that for something new. And then I'm going to use the Snowflake embossing folder. This is one of those thick embossing folders. So it does a pretty good embossed image. And you have to be careful when you put it through your stamp and emboss machine. You just want to use the plate number 4 with platform number 1. All right, I'll show you here in a minute. So the nice thing about embossing folders is you can kind of pick and choose where you want this to be, how you want your snowflakes to be. So I'm just going to set this in here. I don't know why I'm worried about it being straight. It doesn't matter because snowflakes are crooked too. And then, so when I use the platform, let me grab it here. So I'm just using the one platform, the embossing folder, and the number 4. And I'm going to put this through. Now I put this through, just a second. Excuse me. I'm actually putting this through down on a table next to my desk because I don't want it to shake the camera and make me sick. So that's why I'm doing this down here. And then I'm going to bring it up and pull that out. And you can see the snowflake embossing. There, I guess you can see it if I do that. Just enough. It's just a real subtle embossing, but I wanted something on this card. I wanted this to be kind of an elegant Christmas card, but it needed some texture. So I just put that right onto the base. Okay, and then I'm going to take another piece. This is just basic white. And the skates. I'm messing up. Just a second. Let me grab another block. All right. So I'm putting the wreath and the skates. Those are the two that I'm using. I'm going to do the wreath in the mossy meadow, and I'll tell you why here in just a second. When I stamp it, you'll see why, I think. I just re-inked a lot of my ink pads, so they're very wet. So I'm going to stamp this down. And the reason that I did it in the mossy meadow was because do you see that some of the leaves are colored in? And I didn't really want them black. So I have very little to color because a lot of the leaves are already colored in with the ink that I used. And then I'm going to take the Memento. This can be closed. See, I have to be really careful because I have a tendency to leave my ink pads and then, dump my paper into the ink pad and end up with a blotch. And I'm going to stamp my skates. I'm doing those in black. And then once I've done that, I'm going to use, I need a smoky slate. Let me grab another blend. All right. So I'm going to use just a smoky slate blend, and I think this is the light. It doesn't matter which one, but I'm just going to color in the blade. And that's all I do on those skates, is just give the blade a silver look. Like that. And then on this piece, I'm actually going to come in with Old Olive and Mossy Meadow. And we'll start with the Old Olive Light. So I'm going to color in these. These olive ones. Sorry, you're going to have to sit here and watch me color. But that's all right. Now's a good time to write down any questions or comments that you have. And remember that I do put everybody's name into a drawing. And then right after it's over, I try to, I put you all the, however many comments there are, I add it into a number generator. And then whatever number it is, I count the comments from the beginning to the end, and that person gets a prize. And then I post it. I post it in my newsletter, and I post it on the comments of this YouTube once it's done. Especially if I don't know the person, then I have to get their address from them. I'm going to add just a little bit of Old Olive Dark. And I'm just adding a little touch of shading to the tips of these leaves. Not a lot, just a little bit. And then I'm going to come back in with the light Old Olive and blend them out so that it actually looks like shading and not just a marker line. Okay, so I'll come back in with Old Olive Light and then just scribble out where that line is, and you'll see it when you're doing it. And by doing that, it just blends out the leaf and gives it a little bit more shading. I don't want to make my blends difficult. I want to use them. I don't want to be too fussy with them. I'll show you that up close so you can see where you get the shading. And then on these different looking leaves, I'm going to use the light Mossy Meadow. And so I'm just going to go ahead and color those in. And it's kind of a different color because it's light Mossy Meadow. So you still get the ink pad green in there too. All colored in. There. Okay, so you see on my card, I just left my berries plain because I added on those little sparkle embellishments. But if you wanted to, you could color your berries red and your wreath would look totally different. See the difference? It's kind of cool. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the dies. So I've got a fan going in this room. I've got the door and windows open. I've got, but it's like humid. It didn't really rain much. So I'm going to be, it's hot. It's hot here today. Not whining. I'm really not. All right, and then you see I used a little Post-it note to hold that down. And then on this one, you just need to find out where it lines up. Now, when I was playing with this at my table, there it is. I found it right away. But it's got that little flat edge on the side of it, on this side here. It's more flat. And then that's a little bit more flat. So that's how I find how the die goes on there. And then you line it up as best you can. Add a little Post-it tape. And then I'm going to run this through the machine. And so what I'm going to use is I'm going to use the platform. I'm going to use this piece, number 2, and then 2 plates. And then this is going to go here. We're going to run that through. I'll be right back. Hopefully, the tape held them in place, which it did. And then this Post-it note can be used over and over and over again. So I just tape it on top of my Stamp and Cut Emboss machine. And then it's there for the next project that I'm going to do probably here tonight. All right, so there's your card pieces. And you pull up my card. One of the things I wanted to do and I didn't do, before I ran it through the embossing machine, I wanted to stamp it, but it's okay. Because the image that I'm stamping is pretty small, I'm getting something to clean this block because it has pool party ink all over it. And I want to keep my white card white. All right, so I could have stamped this sentiment on here before I embossed it. It still works because there's not a whole lot of embossing. See what I mean? Get the corners into my ink pads. There's not a whole lot of embossing down here, and it's not really heavy, so it stamps fine. However, if you want to, if you're using a different embossing plate or folder, stamp it first, and then you can go ahead and emboss it. And then your embossing kind of folds into your card. All right, now I gotta grab, I moved everything around in my stamp room, and so now I'm always frantically looking for what I need. These are little tiny ones, but they'll work. All right, I found little tiny dimensionals. So what I did then is I took this wreath, and I'm going to add 4 dimensionals on there. And then put that on my card. Right there. And then as far as that goes, I just put the skates on. I didn't put them on a dimensional or anything. I just added them onto my project. Like that. And then I took some of these great little cherry cobbler and pearl berries, which I kind of been loving these. These were some of the berries that I used last week with the Season of Green and Gold stuff. And I'm just going to use the white ones. Now, I could use the red ones and add some more color to this whole project, but I kind of liked the look of the clear berries because they're kind of iridescent. I'll put one down here. I'll put one over here. Anyway, can you see the iridescent? Oh yeah, you can see it kind of. So anyway, that is card number 2. And it's a fairly simple card. It just adds another embossing folder and some embellishments. But you could do these, and you could make quite a few in a very short amount of time. All right, my next card. Okay, they get a little more complicated as we go. Not hard, just a little bit more work. Hi, Sue, thank you. Oh, hi, Donna. Why, everybody's here tonight. That's awesome. All right. Did anybody have, hey, Joan, how are you doing? Vicky, Tyler. Boy, there's lots of people here. Cool. All right. If you don't have any questions, I'm going to keep going. This next card, this is a cool card. The last one is honestly, oh, I felt like I had an embellishment on me. The last one is honestly my absolute favorite. All right, so this is the next card. And I'm going to show you a couple of techniques here for this one. And hopefully you learn some. As you can see, we're going to be coloring with blends. All right, so this is crumb cake. This was a half a sheet of crumb cake. It's 5.5 by 8.5, folded at 4 1/4. You can tell that I do a lot of cards like that. I'm doing good, Joan. I do a lot of cards like that. All right. This is a piece, interestingly enough, this is a piece of that lavender paper. But I love that check. Let me grab something to drink here for a second. And so what I did, you can see it looks a little different in this card, is I used a blending brush. So I'm going to move these out of the way for a minute. And bring in the blending brush and the crumb cake. And I'm using my craft mat. And I'm just going to use that and rub the edges. What I'm kind of doing is antiquing this card. So I'm making this card look very old. Thanks, Diana. And you'll notice that I kind of tap it off on the craft mat first, and that's just to get some of the ink off, but I can pick up that ink and continue to use it. So all I did was just do my edges to give it a little bit of antique look. So today I was in my stamp room and I'm looking at everything that, all the papers that we have that have plaid, there's lots of them. If anybody's interested, there's lots of plaid out there. I'm going to add this layer, and that's 4 by 5 1/4. And then I'm going to have two things I want to do. So I have this piece, and on this piece, I'm going to emboss it with an embossing folder. And this time, I'm going to use the wood embossing folder. I think I'd have enough room in this room with everything. But all right, so I'm going to lay this piece of crumb cake. Add the plate, find the other plate, which I have all this room, and then I set stuff down, which is probably right in front of me. Like it's the big plate. It was right here. There's not a soul that I can blame, except myself. Not a soul. Does anybody see it? Here's one plate. Oh, here it is. I set it like on its side. All right, so I'm using plate number 1, plate number 4 with the embossing folder in between. And then I'm going to run that through. And we're going to get a wood grain look on this piece of... I know, Joan, I do it all the time. I mean, I can't really blame anybody because I'm the only one in here. And you wouldn't think that anything would go too far. I try to keep things like on this counter in the vicinity of where I'm stamping. Doing the same thing with this. Ooh, got a little carried away there. Just adding some ink to this. And my goal is to make the wood grain stick out a little bit more. Boy, I guess I need to tap it on there. All right, I don't want to get too carried away. So there's that. Close this up. This is going to get attached onto here. And then we'll get into the fun part of this card. So we really antiqued that a lot. Really changed that. All right, and now we're going to take this piece And we're going to stamp that big sled. Hi, Sheila. Are you laughing at me or with me? All right, so I put the sled on there. Now, on the sled on this one, I actually stamped it with early espresso. A lot of times we get stuck always using Memento with our blends, and you need to realize that you can use any of our classic inks, and I just re-inked this too. Any of our classic inks can be used with the blends because there are the classic inks are water-based. Thanks, Sheila. And okay, so the classic inks are water-based and the blends are alcohol-based. So any of them will work. Any of our classic inks will work with the blends and it won't smear. I do love that embossing folder too, Joan. All right, so I'm stamping that, and all that really does is it just gives a total different look to what I'm stamping. I mean, it you know, the color that you're using with it just gives it a different look. This is a little bit more like, I don't know, I guess antique-y looking. All right, so I stamped those. I'm going to move this again because you know me. And now we're going to color, and this is probably not going to take as long as you think it's going to. I'm using pecan pie, light and dark, and I might use some crumb cake in the sled part. I haven't decided yet. And so I'm just going to take the pecan pie and color in my image. And, you know, there's already a wood grain on here, so you really don't have to do a ton. I'm just going to color the whole thing. Oops, try to stay in the lines. It doesn't matter, though, because the thing I'm going to do here in a minute, I'm going to fill in those spots between the lines. And so it probably isn't going to show if you go outside the lines. Except there. That's going to show. No, it's going to be fine. It's not easy to color, like, you know, out in front of you. It's better if I can be right up close and personal with it. All right, and then I'm going to do these across here. They're just the bars. Once I've done all that, then I'm going to come in with the pecan. Yeah, you're going to need it. I actually was not going to get it. I was like, no, we're not, because, you know, I only have 1 million Christmas sets. But then I was like, oh yeah, I am. I was definitely a skater in my lifetime. I spent half my life in middle school at the skating rink. And I did with my kids too, so I still have skates. However, I would be leery to get on them at my age and my fitness level. So you can see I'm just putting some of the dark pecan on the edges. I'm just doing a tiny bit of shading, not too much. I don't have to get too carried away. It's going to get covered up anyway. All right, so that one's done. I'm going to come in here with the same colors of green. I'm going to start with the light and work my way towards maybe the mossy meadow. And there's not really a ton of leaves because there seems to be a lot of white space in this. And if you accidentally color some of that white space, nobody's going to notice. So just keep going. I kind of feel like I should have done some coloring beforehand so that you didn't have to sit and watch me, but oh well, it is what it is. And now I'm coming in with the dark olive. And again, I'm just going to add some to the, like, a little shading to each of these leaves. Not a ton, it doesn't need a ton. That sounds good. And then I'm going to come back in with my light. And again, I'm just going to go right over the line between the dark, where the dark meets the light. And that will be just enough to blend out. So one of the things about blends is that they continue to blend till they're dry. So sometimes we have a tendency to overdo, and if you just let it do its magic, it will blend out. And sorry, it'll blend out on its own. All right. Now I'm going to come in with real red, I believe. Yeah, real red. So I'm going to start with my light. And on this one, I actually did color in all these little berries. And if you wanted them to be darker, I think I'm darker on this other card, but this one will be a little bit lighter. You could just go back over and add a little bit of dark into each berry if you want to. It's such a small space. I'm not convinced it needs it. Oh, I missed a leaf right there. All right, so then you're going to color in the bow. I got a little trick I did on this card that I think I like. It comes towards the end when after I cut them out. And then I'm going to come in with dark. And I'm going to make sure like the inside of the bows are darker, because they would be in real life. They'd be a little bit darker towards the knot. So we'll put some dark in there. Maybe darker here. A little bit dark in that corner. Definitely the tails would be dark at this end. And then, again, come back in with the light red and just color a little bit of where those lines are. And that will blend it in. And if you, the other thing is somebody just hit that again with a light, the knot. Lift that up a little bit so you can see it. So one of the things you can do with blends is you can layer the color. I missed this leaf. You can layer the color. Like I can use light red on here, and then I can go ahead and use light red to shade a little bit of it. And that color will be a little bit darker. So the color will lay on top of it as you add color to your image. So, you know, reality is you have several colors, because you can just keep adding color, and it's going to come through the back. Doesn't hurt it, as long as, you know, it doesn't get on your inside of your card. All right, so I'm going to line up the bow, this bow, and then I'm going to line up the sled. These two here. It's pretty easy to do. Get it where I want it, and then I'm going to add the adhesive, and then I'm going to come in, take the plates I need, add this in here. I'm going to take it to the side here and color or die cut it. And then I'm going to show you the next little tip I have for you. All right. So we'll take the sled out. Again, I can, like I said, I can save these little Post-it notes. They last me quite a while. And then that one's done. Save that. I'm going to use this. All right, so here's the next little tip I have for you. Now, I did this earlier with this card, and I laid these on here, and my first thought was, I don't like the white. It's too white. So, on both of them. So this is what I did. And I do this quite often with images, especially if I don't like the white edge around them, or if there's just something about it I don't care for. I'm going to use the Crumb Cake Light. And go ahead and just color in here. This one's getting dried out. I use my blends a lot, so they get dried out. That's okay, that's what they're supposed to do. All right, and then I'm going to go down the middle here. So like I said, where you went out of the line, it doesn't matter because you're gonna, it's gonna blend it out a little bit. And then I'm gonna go around the edge and do the whole edge of the card. And you could use the crumb cake dark. It would look good too. But it just tones it down enough so it goes better with the card, in my opinion. See the difference? You can do the same thing with the flowers. This one I got cut a little bit off the edge, but it's not going to matter. So I am actually going to come in here because this has a bunch of little spots and use my bullet point. And I find my bullet point works longer than my brush hand. I don't know why. I store them vertically, like you're supposed to. Vertically? No, horizontally. You know, they're stored flat like they are here. In our, I just have our Stampin' Up storage that we have for them, which I love. Especially now that I've moved my my room around and I have a desk that I can work at, so everything's like at my fingertips. All right, so there's that. Oh, that's fine. Case away. That's why I do these things. So go ahead and case away. All right, once you've done that, I'm going to add my sled to my card, so you can just see the difference it made. And then this one, I'm going to use dimensionals to add this on here. And like I said, these are not hard cards. This one just added in a embossing folder. And then that technique with the blends. All right, I have to ask Karen a question. You use carbon paper with the wood grain embossing folder. So do you put carbon paper in there, then your cardstock, and then run it through so that the carbon paper does the grain? Karen, is that what I'm hearing? All right, so once I've done that, I'm going to keep going and see if Karen can answer me. I think she's still on. But I do want to know what she does. All right, so I'm going to take this piece. I'm going to cut it an inch. Cut this off. Like this. All right, so this is another technique. I'm going to actually stamp this first. I'm going to use the again, I'm going to use the espresso. I'm going to stamp that with the espresso. I'm going to close this ink pad because you know how I am. I'm going to take this piece and I'm actually going to emboss it into my wood grain folder. Oh wait, before I do that, I'm going to do this. This is the other thing I did. So I didn't really like the white because now it's too white. So you can use, I could have used crumb cake, but I kind of wanted it to have the look. And so I'm just going to color. Hopefully I have enough ink in this. Doesn't have to be perfect because I'm going to stick it through the wood grain embossing folder. But you can see how that doesn't smear the, I'll be adding a crumb cake blends to my order. So now I have a piece that will coordinate better. I think the cardstock might have been too dark for that. It would have been fine, but just another way to use your colors that you have. I'm going to put this into the embossing folder. I'm going to get the correct plates. It's amazing to me how messed up my room can get in a short amount of time. That side. So I just gave that a little bit of dimension with that embossing folder, and then I'm going to use dimensionals to add between the die and the paper. Carbon paper between the die and the paper, and then you run it through. I'm going to try it. I have to go see if I can find some carbon paper. And I'm going to lay that on there. So that's the third card. But I love this technique, and I loved how the blends toned down the dies. So they weren't so crazy, 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 crazy. Right. Okay, I'm going to come online for a minute. You probably don't want to see me because my stamp, like I said, it is really, really hot in this room. Oh, and I'm backwards there. There we go. So if I look a little shiny, that's why. If anybody have any questions, now would be a good time to ask. I do have one more card, and it's absolutely, I think it's my favorite, but I love them all. I love the simplicity of the first ones and kind of how I stepped it up each time. And if you notice in the Stampin' Up! Catalog, under the suites, you will see that's kind of what Stampin' Up! Did. Each suite has a grouping of projects. Some of them just using stamps, some of them just using stamps, ink, and paper, you know, and maybe adding an embellishment, maybe adding a ribbon, and then they kind of step it up and step it up and step it up. I think there's 5 projects in each suite, and that's kind of, if you look at them, you'll see that in the catalog. All right, I'm going to go back to the third card. How cute is this one? Wait till you see how easy this is to make. It really is super easy. All right, so I have my supplies here, and this is a lot of, yeah, I love the idea to tone down the white. It's one of my favorites. All right, so I have all these little scraps here. We're going to use Old Olive, 5.5 by 8.5, scored it 4 1/4, folded in half. If you use basic beige card for the sled, would that look better than white cardstock? Yes, Linda, it would look better. Basic beige would look good, just because it wouldn't be so white. You know what I mean? Although there's probably a place for white sleds that would look beautiful in an elegant sled card. All right, so this is the plaid. I'm coming down. I have one more piece. Oh no, I think this was it. I have like a little scrap. This is the plaid from the Seasons of Green and Gold, and I've used all my plaid up, which is fine. That's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to save your cardstock. All right, then I have a piece here that is, I should write down these measurements. 4 by 2 3/4, and that's just actually going to be in the middle. After I put this card together, I thought, oh, I could have embossed that. I think I will. I want to see what it looks like. I'm going to use the snowflake embossing. Why not step this up one more time? So again, when you're looking at your embossing folder, especially like this one, it has a lot more snow falling up here than down here. So lay your cardstock, kind of pick and choose where you want it. And then we'll use the 1 and the 4 with that, because this is a thick embossing folder. We're going to pull this out. We're going to add this to the card. Yeah, this is just going to add just that one more little step. Kind of layer that. So this is the card that I said that I would actually frame. because I think it's beautiful. So once you've got that done, then you're going to just take a bunch of scraps. Let me grab the platform because I'm going to have to do some taping down. So this is where I really use up scraps, as you see. Okay, so this one. So this one, that is the sled and the wood part of the sled. Okay. These are the blades. We're going to do those. I think that's gray granite or basic gray. Any color would work. The laces for the blades are going to be on real red. The skates. My fear in this today when I was playing was that I would get to this point and one of my dies would be missing. But I think they're all still here, so that's good. All right, and then this one is going to be the vine. And then I have one more I have to cut out, but I'll do that after I've cut these out. And so I actually am going to lay these, even though it doesn't matter because they're not matched up to anything. I don't want them to fly off when I turn around here to do these on my cut and emboss machine. So I'm just adding a little bit of adhesive, and then the upper plate. And I'm going to run this whole thing through my machine. So really, this card's not hard once you've got the pieces cut out. I don't know if I'd make 100 of them, but... All right, so I'm going to pull this off. Here's the two skates. Here's the sled wood. And then the steering unit. There's the vine. Here is the blades. And here are the laces. And this one kills me. This really does kill me because I think, who thought of all this? And made sure that everything was there. All right, so then that last piece I need is an espresso sled. And that's this piece here. And I will tell you today, I saw a picture or a card that somebody did, and they used this as a window. So, you know, think of your dies as more than just a sled base. It could be a window too. It was really cool with the wreath hanging off of it. So there's another use for your dies. I didn't make the card because I didn't have time, but I will. All right. So now we got the sled. Let me move all the stuff out of my way. I don't think I have anything else to cut out. So you just want to make sure. Let me grab a scissor. I should use my tool, like pick tool. If only I had it sitting next to me. I'll have to get that out. So you just want to poke. Oh, that was a. You want to poke enough of the laces. It's pretty fragile. Poke them out. All right. And then I'm just going to hit my scissor into each of those little loops. All right, so there's that. Then I have this vine, which does have a little piece in there. That's done. Then on this one, there are little slats between the wood here that had to come out. And then you have your skates. Oh, and your blades. Oh, goodness. All right, so I'll punch those out of there. Let me grab my black marker. Show you what I did with the... All right. I'm going to just kind of move some of this out of here and then get all the little pieces out of the way. All right. So you have the blade, and it has a little heel on it. And so what I did is I just took my black marker and colored the sole of the boot and the heel with black. Now you could use like our silver paper, silver foil paper, and make these shiny, make the blades shiny. And if you do that and you want to make your heel dark, use your blends. So this regular marker won't work on the foil paper, but a blend marker will work. All right, so once I've got those done, I'm just going to add just the slightest amount of a little bit of green glue. I don't want to get too carried away. So I'm putting a dot where the heel is and a dot down by the blade. I don't want it to smear. And then I'm going to layer that on top. I'll layer that one on top. And then you take your laces. This is the part that I think is so cool. These have a slit in them. And so these laces go down inside that slit. And that's how you make your skate. So cute. Who thinks of this stuff? Thankfully, somebody else shares it with us so that we can make fun and cute things. All right, so there's my skates. They're kind of ready to go. This I'm going to add on to the frame of the so it's going to go on here like that. So I'm going to put I might just do 3. It doesn't need a whole lot. And then this is going to go on here. Ta-da. And then this, the steering mechanism, doesn't even hardly show on here, but it goes right up here on this one. And that's how you make your sled. Now on my sled here, I did a bunch of pearls for like the nails, but I think it looks too much. So I'm not going to do it on this one. And actually this one, it does have holes here where the nails would be. So you could actually poke those out and then the early espresso from the bottom frame shows through. So it does give it some kind of dimension. I don't know, I thought the pearls were going to be perfect because I'm like, oh yeah, that's perfect, but they're a little too big. But that's just me being critiquing my own thing. And I can't imagine that anybody that would get it would critique it like I would. And I think we all do that with our projects. All right, so there's that. And then I've got this little string of white baker's twine. We don't have any red baker's twine, but I wanted the red string to match the red laces. So what do you think I did? I took a blend and I colored my baker's twine red so that it coordinated with the red in the skates. And I'm going to show you something else I did. It is so hot under these lights. If you guys only knew. All right, so there's that. I think I'm ready to put it all together. All right, so we have this. Right, and then we're going to take this. I'm going to flip my skates over. Now these things are just actually, the red pieces are just tucked in there. So whatever you use for adhesive, I'm going to use dimensionals. And I'm going to lay it so that it holds in that piece of red. I don't think it's going anywhere, but I really don't want it to. I want to make sure that it stays there. So once I've done that, I'm going to pull this off, and these are going to get attached to this piece. I kind of have to decide how long I want this. I guess I could cut it afterwards. So I'm just lightly setting them on there because that's sticky. And there. Then I'm going to lift this up, flip these over. It seems like a lot of fussy, but it sure is cute. And I'm just going to trim my string off there. Wishing I had sharper scissors. There we go. That one's done. And this one's done. And then this is going to be hooped to set right onto my, so you kind of put these where you want them. The hoop can come up a little higher. It's okay. And then okay, we'll put another. This one's cut. I'm going to add that in there. I'm going to add that vine in there. Okay. I'm going to add this whole piece to my card. And at this point, I can flip it over, and then I know where I can put more dimensionals to actually hold it on there. So what I want to do is I'm putting it on the wood part that's already lifted. That should be plenty. And then attach that to my card. And then we're going to add some berries right over the top of that where the dimensional is. And that card could be good to go. However, we're going to put a little bow on it. Let me grab. The dogs were helping me today, so sometimes they get a hold of a spool of ribbon and run around with it. I'm just going to take a piece of this black check ribbon, gingham check. It's black and white. It would look cute on that card. It would look fine. But again, you want to change the color of your products. You take your blends and make it a red gingham check. And you don't need a lot. You just need to hit the right down the middle where the gingham is. And we have another, I think this is actually retired gingham ribbon. We do have another gingham ribbon in the catalog, which is a vanilla. You can do the same thing. I did it here. Oh, I could use this. So I did this one earlier today with the newest gingham, and I used the old olive, which would have been pretty. For some reason, I like red. I like the pop it gives it. So make a little loop, come around. Let's try it again. Make a little loop, bring this one around through that hole there, and pull it tight. And that's how you make your bow. And then one of the things the alcohol marker does to this ribbon is it kind of makes it a little bit, I guess I have a cute little gem on my fingernail. It kind of makes it a little bit stiff, which is fine, because then it stays where you want it. I'm just going to add a little piece of a dimensional to where that top of that hoop with string is and add my bow. And there's my card. And I think on this one I actually put, yeah, So I put a white piece in the middle, added a sentiment, and colored the bird. But I love this card. I think they're really cool. I think it was fun today. It was really fun. I had cut out some pieces earlier in the week and then didn't have time to get to it. But I like how they turned out. Which one's your favorite? Which one is your favorite? Let me know in the comments. Ooh, man, it's warm. I'm coming back on here. Love the sled. Reminds me of when I grew up in Lake Tahoe. Yeah, I do too. I love the sled. We had a huge hill in our backyard. You guys can see now how hot it is in here. We had a huge hill in our backyard when we grew up in Duluth, Minnesota. And I think every kid in a 8-block radius came to our hill to sled. And we used to water it, so it was ice, and oh my gosh, it was fun. The last one in green. This one? Oh, you can't see what I'm saying. You like this one? Yeah. Favorite is the skates. Somebody's favorite was this one. Last one is my favorite, but they're all super cute. Yeah, they're really fun. They're very different. But I wanted to do kind of what Stampin' Up! Does with the, just stamps, ink, and paper. Add maybe an embellishment. This one didn't even add an embellishment. It just added a couple of techniques. And then this one that goes to town using the dies. Love them. All right, anybody have any questions? I have to do the drawing still for my summer fun. So those of you who don't know about it, Summer Stampin' Fun, I'm doing this to the end of August. So for every $20 that you order that you place with me, you get a ticket in my beach pail. And you send me a card, you get your name in there just for sending me a card. I'm going to draw a name out of there in a minute. I wanted to show you this month's tutorial. It uses the Lily Pond Suite, I think. So these are the cards. So if you place an order with me, you'll get the tutorial for free no matter what size the order is. If you place an order over $50, you will get a packet of supplies to make the projects in my tutorial. So I have this one and this one. Oops, my cattails got bit back. Fun cards. This is some fun paper. This is a fun fold. Just opens up a little bit differently. And they all have insides decorated. So that's the tutorial for this month. All right, Summer Stampin' Fun. I'm going to draw a name out of here. This is everybody that's placed an order with me or sent me a card in the last, well, since, I don't know, June 15th. Jenny. Woohoo! Jenny, you're the winner. You will get a packet of supplies to make cards or a tutorial. I have to look back. Sometimes I just go back and see who's got what, so I don't send you something you've already got. I want to make sure that I send you something you don't already have, Jenny. So congratulations on there. All right. If nobody has any more questions, you know what that means. I'm done for the night. Oh, I went over. Thank you, Vicki. I do love the cards for that tutorial. That's kind of fun to do that. All right, I'm coming back on. Okay, so if nobody has any questions or anything, I'm going to say goodnight because it's after 8. And I got to clean up a mess, a big mess. So take care. I will pop I'll pop the numbers into a number thing and figure out who's the winner of tonight's prize. I think it'll be a stamp set tonight. So anyway, you get in that drawing by commenting, liking, and sharing. So, all right, everybody, thank you. Take care, and I will see you again next week. I'll be back for our last Christmas in July, and I have no idea what I'm going to do. I have to look at all my Christmas stuff because I have way too much of it. Take care. Have a great night. 59. Good night. Oh, Lord.